I came up with the name Elegantly Outrageous for a business when I was about 17 or 18 years old. I was pretty young, and I knew I wanted to do something with it, but I had no idea. But where I came up with the name and why I liked it was because I think all women have a bit of the elegance and a bit of the outrageous, and where you put together the oxymorons, and I think we're allowed to be ourselves. A little bit of crazy. I always say women only get like 2 weeks out of the month anyway that we're good. We're either on our periods or PMSing, and then you get 2 weeks that are okay, and then the rest of the time, I don't know. So I'm just like, we're waves of up and downs. Our bodies go through a lot, hormones, everything else. So you know what? If I'm crazy once in a while, whatever, I own it. It's fine. So mission, I believe, is the mission that I want to kind of achieve is to make a difference in the world by inspiring, motivating, and supporting all women by standing together and learning to be the best versions of ourselves, because when that happens, we all win. That's very important to know we're all different. We all have different backgrounds. We're all important. Nobody's more important than somebody else. We're all equal, and if we all lived up to our full potential, the world would be a better place if we supported each other. So that's what I want to get out of this anyways. So introductions, we'll get to in a sec. As Rebecca's standing over here, I'm going to breeze over some of my introduction on, I've had a great past. Some of you might know that, if you know the story, my husband and I owned Popeyes. I had a fantastic fitness career, did a lot of magazines, television ads, did a lot of I had a great career in that, but that's not what I realized I wanted to do with my life. I did the corporate world as well. I'd worked at Michelin. I had a fantastic career in that. But the truth is my mental health was not good. So I might get emotional because this is a reason why the men aren't here. And this is what if I feel I open up to you, I'm hoping you guys have a better understanding of the truth of who I am and what past that led me to where I am. And also so you realize that I am not special at all. Like, this is what I've done. My life was not special. I hated my life for almost 30 years. I was in a major depression. Even with some of my accomplishments, I went up and down with the things that I experienced. But my childhood was horrible. I don't remember a lot of it because I spent the majority of it being abused by my stepfather. He abused me in every possible way a human can be abused. My mother was a severe alcoholic. I picked her up more times than I can count off the floor. He beat her so badly that I sometimes couldn't do it. I'd be 7 or 8 years old and I'd be taking care of her. She'd run her car through the front of the house sometimes, over the lawn. She'd spend the majority of her time in the hospital, and he would stay home with me to abuse me. He quit his job, and that's really the truth of my history. When I finally wanted the abuse to end, I decided one day, I was about 12, I don't exactly remember, I was going to kill him. And by the grace of God, somehow my grandma came in the door that day and I had left. I'd never told her exactly what happened, but I left that situation. And when I finally did tell, thankfully I was believed, but he ended up killing himself. So that was a tough childhood, and that was great, but I brushed it off and I pretended like nothing mattered, and I went through my fair share of social anxiety. That's when the eating disorder started, my early years. Bulimia, binge eating, obsessive compulsive eating. My food was my world. I had severe social anxiety in high school. I was not attractive. I was not a pretty girl. I was not the girl that somebody looked at and went, that girl's gonna make it one day. No, I was the girl who was in the corner being made fun of. Or I had a lot of friends in a sense that I knew a lot of people because I was a nice person, but I was not a person that people inspired to be, look up to. When I was an early teen, I decided I wanted to be a fitness model, and I completely got laughed at. I looked ridiculous, did not fit the profile, but I said, you know what? Excuse my language, but I'm like, fuck those people. I'm going to prove them wrong, right? That's not the right motivation to go down that road, but that's what started. Sometimes they say your enemies can be your best friends because they make you aware of what you need to be aware of, right? Like they're the ones, it's not your friends and the people that you're in your comfort zone that are going to take you out of your comfort zone. It's the people that you look at those and go, hey, I have to be better than that. So the people that teased me, made fun of me, whatever, I guess I have to thank them because in some ways that's what contributed to my success. But that road wasn't an easy road either. I thought I was going to a job interview. I had many different stories, and to be honest, this is like this much of my life story, but I'm just gonna give you a breeze over it. I thought I was going to a job interview and I was sexually assaulted at gunpoint. So that was a horrible experience. I did not want to come forward as a victim in that situation. When I got free, I did. Over 30 women came forward. It was a major thing in the news, and had I not come forward with my story, those women would have not come forward either, and they were looking to me, and I wanted to quit. I did not want to be, it was a horrible experience. I was pregnant on my trial the whole time. It was the worst pregnancy. It was extremely stressful because I would remember being on the stand and their lawyer basically accused me of it being my fault because I had breast implants, because I was, I looked a certain way, that it was my fault. I was asking for it. So it was just disgusting and horrible. So again, the highs, the lows, but I tried to make it look, so I had this, my whole life, I had this way of, oh no, I got to present this perfect image. So I'd come in here, I want to present this perfect image. I'd go to counseling, I would quit. Oh, I know, I don't need that. I'm better. I don't need that stuff, right? Like I'm fine. Like, oh, what's wrong with those people? They need, and I was judgmental to the other, even though I was a nice person, I became judgmental to all those other things. I'm not like that. I'm not like that. I'm not like that. I'm not like that. Until eventually, life just, that's it. I couldn't handle it anymore. I had a complete breakdown and I needed help. I did try to kill myself one time in my life, and thank God, same thing. I lived through that. I'm glad I did, because that's when I knew I had to get help and make a change, and I didn't want to lose my daughter. But when I did do it, my daughter was about a year old, I was convinced, I believed for sure that the world and her would be better off without me. I was not well. And I think why now I'm doing what I'm doing is because I never thought I'd be happy. I really never thought I'd be happy. I didn't think it was possible, and I can say I'm very happy now. And I never ever thought it was possible. And I realized, and this is what we're going to go into later, is because you don't have to have an extreme situation or an extreme case like mine. The reason I guess my case is so extreme in those situations is because I finally realized I needed to help others feel the same way that I do now. How can I help other women and other people? Women for me is what I resonate with because of my past. How can we all get on the same page where we all feel good about ourselves? That's what I want to do. That's the most important message. That's the only takeaway if you have from today is if you feel, I just want you to know you're good enough now, and just work on just being the best version of yourself, because that's all that matters. We don't have to be the same, and we can celebrate each other's differences. I struggled, I know when you look at a certain person a certain way and you see, oh, well, it looks like looks like you have it all together. Remember, there's always, for a lot of people, there's a journey to get to that stage. Some people are just born with it and they're lucky, and other people have to work for it. I'm in the work for it category, she's in the work for it category, but I find that the focus my whole life was always on food and obsession and sitting for myself. I used to sit in the kitchen and, I would bake a whole cake and then I'd eat the cake, and then sometimes I would continue to eat, sometimes I'd purge, sometimes I'd be all over the place, right? So the obsession with the constant eating and what I was going to eat next and constant food, and that was my whole life, but I didn't realize it was consuming my life so much. I knew I had a problem because it was obvious on the eating disorder portion, I knew purging was a problem, but I didn't realize how much the obsession was taking over my life. And once I was able to start loving myself, the obsession, that changed, and then everything else changed too. So that's the most important thing but I had to fix the problem first before everything else kind of worked itself out. And that's the hardest part, because it's just being brutally honest with the way you talk to yourself and who you are. So that's what we're going to get into, because as of today, we're going to take the responsibility of taking charge and making a positive change. It's not for anyone else. It's for yourself. It's not for your husband or your wife or your partner or whatever. It's not for your kids. It's for you. It's your life. I have children too, and I've learned to say with myself, when my daughter is out of line, I have split custody, which is very, very, very difficult, because I have a shared custody with, and most people would say with an idiot themselves, right? That's why you're not married anymore. And I have a very difficult situation with his wife. Makes my life very stressful. 50% of the time, my daughter's being taught something that I don't want being taught to her. I don't have a choice, and she, sometimes her attitude's really bad or things are out of control, and I have to remember that, I'm a person, she's a person too, and even though she's a little person, she's still a person. She deserves respect, and I deserve respect, but I can't allow her to kind of, just because I'm her mom, doesn't mean that she's allowed to walk all over me either. I'm not her slave. And I'm having to set those rules, and I let her be my slave. I let it happen for so long, and then I wonder why she's behaving this way, because I didn't set those boundaries for myself, right? And that's so important. And taking care of yourself, it's super, super important. So as of today, and that thing I had to walk away from. It was easy for me to go down victim mentality, feel sorry for myself, and whatever. Oh, woe is me, the whole world sucks, right? And that's where it feeds the depression. I had to change that mindset. I had to get out of the victim mentality, feeling sorry for myself constantly. It's like, yeah, too bad. Guess what, Candace? You don't have, your mom wasn't there for you. Guess what? Your dad's a jerk, and that's how life is, and he didn't really care about what I went through. Worked it out. It is what it is. Guess what? I was poor growing up. It is what it is. I had to accept that life wasn't fair. I had to accept it, because it was the only way I could fix it. I went, okay, now I know I've been dealt a shitty hand. How can I fix this? I had to work on fixing it. And there was nobody else who could fix it. Nobody else, other than me. So I've developed this 3-stage development program that we're going to experiment with and have some fun. And this is where we'll see how this goes. I just came up with this. This is new. Like the slideshow that you guys can't see, but so stage 1, it's going to be assessing your personal value. Okay, so we're going to go through and assess your personal value, your thoughts. Then we're going to talk about how to reset that self-talk. We're going to do second stage, which is analyzing your truths, taking a look at your habits. The 7-day elegantly outrageous honesty plan. So for the next week, I don't want to call it homework, because that's not cool. My husband said, don't give them homework. Nobody wants to do homework. I was like, yeah, that's true. So we're going to call it an assignment or your mission for the next week. Your challenge, however, something fun. You're going to be accountable to each other. You're going to be accountable to us. You'll get, something that's, we're not going to chase you. We want you guys to, follow up, because you're going to have a little bit of work. Don't worry, I'm going to give you handouts, so don't worry. A personal action plan. So we're going to have your health attitude, which is you're going to develop a personal prescription for your own personal wellness, because we're all different. So I'm going to explain that. And accountability. There was times, like I said, I thought I was worthy, kind of, but it was like faking it. Like I said, when I go back to being a teenager going, I'm going to do it to prove you wrong. That's not the right motivation. Yeah, I became successful. Yes, I got in magazines. Yes, I did all that. Guess what? I wasn't happy. Didn't make me happy. You could do all the extra, so I see it all the time. Trust me, I own a supplement store, which is the most vain people come in the door all day long, right? They all say, I never hear, if I hear one more person's diet and how many carbs they count in a day, all right? But I don't care, on the what, what somebody, to me, so that's what I say. So everybody has their own programming in their mind, right? So what you value, we all value differently. So I don't value just somebody's appearance. If they walk in and I look at them, there's that, people, they say the 3 seconds or whatever. But I'm going to see how they interact with people. I'm going to see how they treat me. That's what I base my opinions on people of, if they're good people or not, because that's what I value most. That's the most important thing to me. If they're good people, and good people in a sense that you don't have to, I've made every mistake you can possibly make as a human, and I've forgiven myself because I work on fixing it. Like, so I don't pretend that I'm this perfect person, because I'm not. It's impossible. It's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to be human. I'm not saying perfection, but if it's the intention, and having good intentions is super important, right? So that's what that comes back to. So resetting the self-talk. So I came up with this idea that I have this little person inside. So my friend started making these cartoons. So he started drawing these cartoons of myself. I was very blessed that he's so talented and was able to make these cartoons. And then it started getting me thinking, going, what if I had, and he hasn't made it yet, but he's going to make a villain of myself. Because we all have kind of these different things that go on in our internal self-talk, right? Some days it's like, whoa, I'm on fire and I'm awesome. And then there's these other days where you're like, I suck, or what's wrong with me, and you have no worthiness, you don't feel good, and it's this whole thing, right? And that's an issue. So it's like, what if that little person, that little inner critic, had a name? So you see like the angel and the devil and those types of things, but maybe it's not so much, because it doesn't have to be too extremes. You can be happy some days, and sometimes you need that little voice too to protect you, because I am a person, I'll do anything, I love to help people, I help, and then I kind of get screwed too, because I was a people pleaser, but that's not good either, because you have to take a step. You can't please everybody. It's impossible, because then the person that suffers is yourself. Also, it's not really safe to be a people in certain ways too, because you're not taking a stance. If you're having a conversation with somebody, let's say we're friends, and then we're having this great conversation, we're friends, and then you and I go have a conversation, but then you start talking badly about her, I'm gonna go, wait. If I'm a people and I'm like, oh, I just want to please, so I'm having this conversation, I'm gonna agree with you. I'm not gonna do that. Like, if we're having this, I'm gonna say, hey, that's my friend, I don't want to have this conversation. I'm strong enough to do that. I don't need to make you happy on that sense, or vice versa, or whatever else. I don't get involved in that, because the stress of it is way too much. I've learned I have to stay away from gossip, all that stuff, because it just adds anxiety to my day. Do I know when I put myself out there publicly that people talk about me and I'm sure make fun of me? Absolutely. I've learned though, I don't care, because this is my orbit. I'm either going to attract you into it, or I'm going to repel you. And you know what I've realized? The people that I'm repelling are the people I don't want anyways, because they're the people that I grew up with, probably, that made me feel like shit, and I don't want them, because they never made me feel good about myself anyway, and I don't want to be around people like that. And that really includes the same thing. Like, it doesn't matter if it's my family or people that are close to me. I've had to cut some people out of my life. I don't want to be taken advantage of anymore. I've set those boundaries. You set those boundaries for yourself, right? It's really important. So give that little person a name. So you're gonna think about that. You picture yourself. You're gonna make yourself picture your own little inner critic, and start to be aware. This week, I want you to be more mindful of what you say to yourself and what that little person's saying to you. You can picture, a visual. If you have two little people on your shoulder, that's fine. But I want you to see that little inner guy, girl. Who is she, and what's she doing, and how she's sabotaging you? What type of things is she saying to you in your mind that's really messing you up? Because that little girl, we got to be careful of her, right? We got to set her straight, cross-examine her, question her. If you guys were friends, if you're a true friend, talk to her. What would you say if she was going around saying all these bad things? What would you say to that friend? Shifting your perspective. Thinking, changing how that is, changing your mindset, is really important. And saying the things out loud, and trying to replace the bad with the good, right? And then we were extremely busy at the store. We had staff thing. Like, I was super overwhelmed, and I myself started to. I felt myself cry. Plus PMS, throw that in there, and just whoa. But and I was like falling apart, and I knew I had to take a step back, and I had to be away from people, because I'm more self-aware now. Whereas before, same thing. Sometimes I would spiral out, and it could go into months of an issue, right? Whereas now I go, okay, reset. I know I'm getting out of control. Reset. And it doesn't mean I said I lived almost 30 years in a depression, whatever you want to call it. I medicated and all that stuff. But I can say I'm definitely recovered. I haven't had an eating disorder in many years. I don't go back to those same routines, but that took years of practice, right? Like it just didn't happen, right? Like I had to learn how to do it, and it's still never going to be perfect. I have to live that same way, knowing I have to do certain things to be well, otherwise I'll spiral out of. And that's just anyone. There's very few people. My husband's one of them, though, that he can work like constant, like I don't even know how he does it, and still be functional and drive and everything. I'm like, great. You don't have the hormonal imbalances. That's what I say to him. Because I don't know what else. I'm like, great. There's some people out there, but I've found most women relate to we're more like a river. We're kind of a little bit floating all over the place sometimes. If you start to believe in yourself, you don't even have to be right. Like I said, when I first started, half the stuff I was doing, I probably should have been laughed at with some of the things because it's like, what the hell? But I had the passion and the consistency and the belief that I somehow would have made it, and did that. So that's where it comes from. So now, the position I'm in, if I say I'm going to go out, I don't know, whatever, and do something, people believe that because they know I'll do that. I have that I know that because of my past histories and everything else. But at first, it wasn't like that. Like I had to work through it. But I was a quitter in my life. I was the type of person, I was the young girl who went to, a sport and nobody came to watch me, so I quit. Or I was the girl that was signed up for basketball camp and a week later, hurt my back. Oh, I can't do that. I quit everything. Like I was the worst, all right? So I wasn't like this. I cut across the cornfield in grade 9 because I didn't want to do the run, and I sprained my ankle, so I got busted. And then the school, they had to carry me out. I'm like, okay, well, I'm in trouble now. So, I was not the girl, the physical act, doing all these wonderful things at all. That was came much later in life, and I had to work for it. My marriage too, my first one failed. It was horrible. I got married for the wrong reasons because I wanted to get out of my family situation. I was not in love. It was a parent.
The series of control system configurations that were used during the terminal phase were in fact very close to what we would expect to use in the normal case, irrespective of.
But I knew I wanted love. I just didn't know what that was. So I had to go learn, and the only way I learned how to be better was literally reading. I started to read more, and the self-help stuff seems so hokey and stuff to some people, but truly there's a way to do it that it's not ridiculous, where you can actually just do it and it be real. Because I see the other side of things, and nowadays everybody's a life coach, they're doing all these things, they give advice but they don't follow their own advice. I see a lot of those people too. I'm like, okay, you got to actually live it and do it and be real with it, not just read a book and go, okay, and then try to preach it. Because I don't believe in preaching, and I believe it. Everybody, all of you have your own individual stories that you have to tweak to make it good, right? We all have different backgrounds. So this is where we'll start to soon get into this. So there's different types of habits. That's a whole other presentation that we're not going to get too much into, because there's internal habits, external habits, global habits. Everything starts from the inside, what you do on a daily routine, your day-to-day. Some people don't. It's good to have a routine, for sure, because that helps you get through the day. But you also have to be aware you don't want to be on autopilot. You kind of wake up, you do the same thing, you don't even realize it feels like you're in the same day, Groundhog Day, because you're doing too much of the same thing repetitively. Sometimes, like there's a difference, and I know if you've ever read certain spiritual books and stuff, there's a very big difference between, and without getting hokey, being awake and being, just living. We all have this, they say awoken or spiritual, and you're woken up, and that's the difference between, you're driving, you notice the flowers, you notice the things around you, you're living. We all have the right to live. We shouldn't just be surviving. You shouldn't just have you shouldn't live this life where it's just okay, well, that's what I do. I'm going to go do this because that's just what I do, and you don't notice what's around you, and you don't change your routine, and you don't do anything else. You want to, you have the right to live. Do things that you enjoy. And you know what I realized? I didn't know what I enjoyed. I had no idea. I spent the whole majority of my life in survival mode. I had no idea what I liked. What's your hobbies? I don't know. I thought it was fitness. I thought it was the gym, because that's just what I did, because that's from a young age what I believed I had to do. It was only we even bought a store with it, and in recent years I realized I hate going to the gym. I hate it. Right? I overdid it. I hate it. I'm struggling to get back. I need to do it for my physical well-being. I have to go there. But it's something I thought was a hobby that I liked. And when I really evaluated, I went, I don't like being here at all. And I, for myself, so I challenged, and I was struggling to get to the gym for the last number of years, so I signed up for the Pearl Gloves boxing thing. I had never done a sport, okay? Never. I choose boxing. Stupid. What was I thinking? Yeah, let's go get punched in the face. So it was a great experience, though. She's punched me in the face before, yeah. So, and she's big. I'm a little person. Like, with her punches, she's strong. Like, I mean, like, pure muscle. So that was an interesting experience, but the best thing I ever did, because I told myself, you know what, I'm just going to try something different. Like, I just need to get out of my rut. I don't know what it is. I need to try something different. That's why I signed up for it. And it wasn't the experience of the physical. Yeah, the physical. I mean, I cried all the time, the ups and the downs with that experience. But it was crazy. But I loved just doing something different out of my comfort zone. It's not something I'm going to pursue and continue. I'm going to keep working out. I like the working out. I don't like people. You know, my issue, I didn't like hitting people. I hated it. Like, that was uncomfortable. I could take the hits, but I didn't like hitting somebody. Yeah, it's something that you think. Yeah, exactly. So I thought, yeah, trust me, she knows. She loves punching people. I did the first fight, though, that I had when we did this kind of whole process. I didn't realize my PTSD trigger, like major trigger, was actually a friend of mine who was able to turn off, on and off. We're very similar in height and weight and everything else. And her and I have been friends for years. And her and I had to have a fight. And I put me on a bag. People are like, wow, like I was looked all amazing, everything. But the actual experience changed. When you're in a ring and you're fighting, it changed everything. When the punches started coming, I completely shut down. And I did not let anyone know this. Like, I still fought back and everything else. But internally, it brought up every bad experience I ever had. Every hit I ever took, all the abuse I ever took, even metaphorically, like, how much are you going to take, Candace? How much are you going to take, Candace? How much are you going to take, Candace? Like, it was just this constant, like, I just let myself just be a punching bag. I realized I let myself be a punching bag for years from so many people. You know, the constant just verbal abuse from people and everything else. And I'm like, what am I doing? And why am I continuing to let this happen to me? And I broke, and I didn't let anyone know I broke. I had to get in the ring again that night. I kept going, and then I got in my car, and I just cried. Like, I cried, and I must have cried privately for weeks on and off. And I hated it, and I wanted to quit. I was like, this is the stupidest thing. But I told myself it's exactly what I needed, because I had some feeling that I needed something to bring me out of that, what I was experiencing, because I knew there was something that I needed to just get myself out of that. And I did the fight. I did that part. Honestly, once it actually came to the real fight and that experience that day, it was great. Whatever was done, and I didn't care. It was a draw. Or sorry, she won. Like, I lost the actual fight. Like, it was, you know, and I realized that didn't matter, because I was like, the experience and that journey of it was that's what I needed from it. That's what I needed. I didn't need the win. And that was the weirdest thing, because I evolved so much as a person, and I took that, and then I got a hernia. So that was great from doing that. And I had to have surgery. So I was laid up on the couch for a long time, which I don't do well and that's why when I realized what I was supposed to do, and when everything kind of changed for me, and I went, why am I, like, I had to take a deep, deep look and start to evaluate what I needed to do with my life. What are the signs? What's going on? And you might not have to change. And this is where we don't need to go and change your life and your career and your past, but it's just about finding happiness. And that's the most important thing.